National Socialist Healthcare, Dachau, Germany, 1945.
You came for an emergency house call.
I saw a lot of signs. I saw a lot of American flags. And I didn't see anything that I thought was disrespectful.
The leader of the Republicans in the House didn't think this was disrespectful. Is it stupid? Is it as stupid as a spray-tan buffoon saying,
"This is my copy of the Constitution,"
and then claiming he was going to read from it, and then reading the preamble of the
An elected Republican official today leading a protest on the west steps of the Capitol that compared health care reform to Nazi death camps and encouraged mindless harassment of and possibly violence against the government. Not teabaggers anymore, not demagogic commentators, an actual congresswoman inciting a hateful rebellion against the rule of law and order. Her name is Michele Bachmann. Our fifth story in the countdown. As if that were not bad enough, Ms. Bachmann today joined by the House Minority Leader, as well as countless other GOP representatives. This orgy of veiled threat and not so veiled racism of white power minority rule, now fully the province of the Republican Party. Welcome to the coup. Congressman Bachmann staging what she tried to claim was a spontaneous meetup of opponents to health care reform. If 25 buses paid for by the AstroTurf group Americans for Prosperity could be considered spontaneous, an estimated 4,000 people today answering Ms. Bachmann's call, bringing with them on those buses not just their misunderstanding of health care reform, but also their hatred of President Obama, as well as pure hatred, period. Lee Fang at thinkprogress.org taking these photographs of a sign that reads, National Socialist Healthcare, Dachau, Germany, 1945, superimposed over the horrific images of the corpses from Dachau. Other signs slightly less shameful, but many in no way related to health care. Congresswoman Bachmann urging these people to rebel.
It was Thomas Jefferson who said a revolution every now and then is a good thing. What do you think? You feel so good right now, and we, the members of Congress that are gathered on the steps for this press conference, are so honored that you are here.
Press conference. The geniuses at the Republican Study Committee trying to rebrand today's event, not as a protest nor a rally, but as a press conference, urging House staffers in an email last night to please make sure your boss does not term this event a rally. Does any of this sound like a press conference to you?
Who will kill this bill? We will. You will. You will. And we must. The Constitution of the United States starts with three very powerful words. We the people, and we the people are speaking. Nancy Pelosi, listen. Fellow patriots, go tell your congressman you're not going to eat this rotten, stinking fish that is Pelosi health care. We're going to put a stop sign in front of her steamroll of socialism. Go to it, patriots!
That man is a doctor, and someone has an appointment to see him. At least Congressman Brown knows how the Constitution starts. The Republicans' top dog can't even cite the correct document.
I'm going to stand with you and all freedom-loving Americans against this bill. This is my copy of the Constitution. And I'm going to stand here with our founding fathers who wrote in the preamble, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
If Minority Leader Boehner had read his prop copy of the Constitution, perhaps he'd know that he was actually quoting the Declaration of Independence. Or maybe he thinks that's the same thing as the Constitution. Which might explain the Republican health care bill, Minority Leader Boehner's office having falsely claimed that that bill, once it was finally revealed, would, one, cover millions more Americans than the Democrats' bill would. In fact, it would cover millions fewer Americans, making the nation's health care crisis that much worse. The Congressional Budget Office, in its analysis of the bill, determining that the Republicans would leave 52 million Americans uninsured. Right now, there are 46 million in this country without coverage, which means that under the Republican plan, 6 million more Americans would become uninsured. And the GOP's bill's impact impact on the deficit, it would be $36 million worse than the impact of the Democratic bill. Time now to call in our own Eugene Robinson, associate editor and Pulitzer Prize-winning columnist to the Washington Post. Gene, good evening.
Evening, Keith.
Today we saw a member of Congress encouraging harassment of the government, fomenting, her word was revolution, and her behavior was sanctioned by her colleagues, the Republican leadership of the House of Representatives. And I recall that during the previous administration, if you disagreed with policy and just said it, let alone staged some sort of protest with banners and references to the Second World War, you immediately got branded a traitor. There seems to have been some kind of a shift of terminology in these times.
Your recollection is correct. I think it was more a shift of party and control of the White House and both houses of Congress, and I think that the outrage that was displayed at criticism of the president at a time of war a few years ago was situational, and it seems to no longer apply when a certain party is no longer in charge.
Yeah, did the wars end? Did I miss that? Did I not get the note?
You know, I missed the memo if they did. The wars did not end, and it really was quite a spectacle. I mean, this was an elected congresswoman who presumably was sent here to make laws, out there doing this ridiculous, what do they call it, a press conference? I'd love to know the media organizations that all those people represented who were out there bussed in by the AstroTurf group. It was frankly appalling, but that's Michele Bachmann.
But it's always been appalling, and it's always been Michele Bachmann, and I don't think she has any idea of what she's doing truly and its possible impact. But today was when the Republicans say, we own this. There's racism in here, there's bigotry, there's refusal to acknowledge the outcome of an election that was a pretty clear-cut decision. There's a misunderstanding of a vital health care issue. There are a lot of things going on here, but they are being stoked up into a rage. And this was not, correct me if I'm wrong about this, but this was the day the Republican Party said, yeah, we'll take this, we'll run on this, we'll become a party of hate.
Well, it seems to me that they gave up any pretense of deniability today. When you have the minority leader out there joining the protest, the rally, whatever it was, with this horrific and frankly disgusting imagery that attended it, there is a certain amount of ownership that they take, and I think this is something that should be remembered. These are video clips that should be kept and should be played.
On an associated point with this, how do the organizers of this not realize, you know what, we had better get somehow, even if we have to pay them to show up, some black faces, some brown faces, some Asian people, or somebody in this crowd other than the crowd that we've seen. Every piece of videotape I've looked at looked exactly the same. This is otherwise going to look like a pro-apartheid rally in South Africa 35 or 40 years ago.
Well, now this is going to sound tendentious, Keith, right, but I went to the Republican National Convention last year, and you did not see many minorities there. And look, this is a party that has been more and more hostile to minorities, to Latinos, to African Americans. It's certainly perceived that way, and this didn't help that image at all. That seems to be the hand they've decided to play.
About Michele Bachmann. Right before Michele Bachmann held that rally on Capitol Hill, her chief of staff quit. Neither veteran Hill aide Michelle Marston nor Bachmann herself is commenting on why the chief of staff left so suddenly, but an anonymous conservative Republican member of the House told Politico, quote, "When your captain's crazy, it's time to find a new ship." Ms. Bachmann is in her second term in Congress. She went through more than a dozen staffers in her first term, and that was before her conservative colleagues started calling her Captain Crazy in the Beltway press. Stay tuned.